I'm just in Carmony. We're going to be talking about managing a web application with Salt. I have to preface this with, I just threw my back out this morning, and so I'll likely be sitting the whole time or whatever. And so I'm in a bit of pain, but if I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, according to XKCD, it's still a 1. But yeah, and so we have a lot to cover, not a whole lot of time. So we'll go ahead and just jump in. Right now, technically, I am unemployed. I have just finished up with my current employer, daunting. And next week, I am starting as the Director of Development for Desert News. And so I'm pretty excited about that. It should be a fun change. Maybe we'll be able to get them to use some Salt while we're there. I like web stuff, and the bottom line is I actually like to consider myself a little bit lazy, and I like things that make my life easy. And if I was to talk about Salt definitely makes your life much easier when you're dealing with multiple servers. A few disclaimers. I am not an expert sysadmin. That's not my background whatsoever. And I'm primarily a developer, and I've just had to do sysadmin just because we didn't have one. And so the role kind of fell on me. I'm also not well versed in other tools in Puppet Chef. I've used them a little bit. I haven't deployed massively, had the opportunity to deploy massively with them. And I would even dare say I'm not a Salt expert. I'm just a Salt user. And so some of you might be like, oh, why am I sitting in this class with this guy who's not a sysadmin, he's not experienced in a lot of configuration management stuff, and he's not even an expert in Salt. If there's any testament to Salt, is that if I can run my company and the products I work with using Salt with my not extensive history with sysadmin, it's a proof that Salt is simple. And it is really powerful, and it's great, but it is not hard to set up. It's not hard to get using. And I think that was the biggest attraction for me, is I didn't have time to hire a sysadmin and have him do it for us. I had the 30 minutes today to keep our systems alive and then get on with my development work. So a lot of times in this industry, most development teams, when they get to multiple servers, don't even have a sysadmin on staff yet. And so that's another great strength, is that it's simple, it's easy to use for even non-sysadmin, super smart people, such as myself. I have found you're able to you can do just about anything Puppet and Chef can do with Salt. And then there's things that Salt does that they can't even do. But you don't have to get any of the complexity of those two products. And I use it daily, and we love Salt. And I'm really glad that I think it was Heartsbane back here who said, I was talking about, can't get my Puppet to work, and he's all, just try Salt, and I haven't gone back. So, quick question, how many full-time sysadmins do we have in the room right now? We got 1, 2, about half. Okay, how many of us here consider ourselves developers? Oh, we got a good mix. Yeah, and so one thing I love about Salt, if you're a developer, you can understand it, it's easy to use, it's really great. If you're a sysadmin, it's easy to use, it's really great. This isn't a super advanced presentation. This is like the beginner course, I would say. We're going to keep things simple. I'm going to quickly go through my slides, and then I'll demo setting up Salt. And because between my back and being up till 1 a.m. with a work problem last night, I likely will, my demo might not work. So if that doesn't work, I'll just show you my production environment, and we'll go from there. If you feel free to ask any questions, and then the slides, resources, links, anything you possibly could need, I'll have a link to at the end, so you don't have to worry about quickly typing stuff that you see. You can just focus on the actual talk. Normally, I pride myself on having really pretty slides, but I have 3 talks at this conference. And 2 of them I had given before, and I'm giving them again. And this one was my first time giving this, and so it's not pretty at all. So I apologize for that. But we're sysadmins and devs, we don't need pretty slides. All right, so let's talk about Salt. Salt is a free open source project. It was started by Thomas Hatch, who's here in the room with us in the back. So if I'm not smart enough to answer a question, likely we have a good source in the back of the room. And then if any of these talks interest you at all, he's giving 2 more talks on salt, another kind of intro class, and then another one about writing modules, which is a powerful part of salt. It was rewarded the Rookie of the Year by Black Duck Open Source. And the cool thing is they award a couple of Rookie of the Years, but every other Rookie of the Year had a major company behind it, such as Mozilla or whatever. And Salt was the only one that was really 100% grassroots. A guy on GitHub started it, and it has grown from there. It has over 80 contributors, and the last time I checked,
we're at 96.
96. Correction. We have 96 now, and over the last 30 days, we've had 493 commits, and that is a lot. And so it's growing really, really fast, and it's a good sign of a solution that has found a problem and solved it in a really elegant way. And so, what does Salt actually do? Salt does configuration management through its use of states, and it also does remote execution manager. And so from a single location, you can send multiple, you can select the different types of servers you want to execute a command on and send it on out. And it's easy to set up, simple to use, and there's tons of flexibility with it. So first off, why do you think you might need execution? You might have a situation, I have 5 servers, I want to check what version of a XYZ package is installed, or I need to reboot this service on all my types of web services. You might have to reboot all your web Apaches and your web services, or whatnot. And I don't have to shell into every single server I own just to run a few commands. And so remote execution helps solve this problem where from a single, from your Salt master, you're able to manually, or you can write scripts and stuff to, send commands to all parts or, individual servers on your in your network, and it all works really simple. The next part, this is the part that we use mostly Salt for, is the configuration management. We were able to use version control, so all of our configurations are kept in Git, and then Salt will push out those configurations and reboot services as needed. That's excellent when you have a problem, say, oh, we're looking at the Munning graphs, and 2 weeks ago we made a change, and all of a sudden our CPU usage went through the roof. You can look at your configurations, like what I changed that day. And the other great thing is it ensures your configurations are all the same on all your servers that are configured. Once you start using like multiple web servers, you can run into bugs if you forget, I need to make a change on Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3, but I forgot to do it on Web 3, and then you get weird bugs, and you have to figure out, okay, well, why is that?
Did you have questions throughout or towards the end?
You can toss them pretty much whenever you want.
I just had a quick question about the configs. Is there some sort of provision for dynamically changing the config on a per host basis?
Yes. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah. All right. It can auto restart services. It can auto install packages. And so these are things that we mostly use it for. And the bottom line, it will make your life very much easier.
I have a question about the remote execution.
Okay.
You see the output?
Yep. Yeah, you can. And it can run in parallel. And so if you need to say, what version of this package am I going to say, you can tell the command. Yeah. And so say it in a parallel, and you can figure how many at a time. It'll run out there, execute all the commands, and then come report back as you report back. So it's a lot quicker than shell into this one, shell into this one, shell into this one. All right. Okay. What about Puppet and Chef? These are my personal opinions. I think Puppet and Chef are great solutions. They've been around for a while. They work really well. They're pretty stable. I do believe they have a steeper learning curve. I switched to Salt after about 3 days of trying to get Puppet to work correctly, and I was having between DNS problems and key management problems, and I didn't get my servers to work right, and then I get to work right, and the next day they stopped working. I couldn't figure out why. And that's when you kind of need that dedicated sysadmin to take care of it for you. And so they are more complex, and so when I say complex for me, for my simple mind, they're more difficult to set up and use. And they only do one part of the puzzle that Salt does. They only do the configuration state management. There's no built-in remote execution that you have. But honestly, if you are using Puppet or Chef now, if you have a large deployment of it, there's no need for you to right this second go switch over to Salt. I wouldn't recommend jumping ship, but be aware of Salt, and then when an opportunity comes where it'd be a good solution, go ahead and use it. There are a few disclaimers with Salt. Even though it's getting a lot more mature, even the time since I've started using it, it's getting more and more stable. It's awesome, but it is still pretty young. We are still developing new features, and so you do need to keep that in mind if you want to use it in large production right now. Say, I might have to make a patch here or there to get things working. Some of the newest features like pillars, we've had some mild bugs with them, but we won't talk about pillars today. And it's not 1.0 quite yet. That's the next release they're working on, but it's still, so like I said, it's a really, really smart adolescent, but it's not like a super old time, super mature project. So you just need to keep that in mind as if you're deciding to use it. But the bottom line is still super awesome. Okay. We're going to go over quickly the basic overview of Salt. And the very, very easiest, most minimalistic way to look at it is this is how Salt works. You have two types of things. In this example, you're going to have a master server, and then you have minions. And you install the master, it'll sit there running, and it'll be listening, and then your minions will connect to the master. There are other options to have an intermediate step if you have complex networks where you're going to want to have kind of an intermediate layer where you can use Salt Syndicate and Syndic. And I don't use them, but if you have a really complex solution where you have weird networking or whatever requirements, you can use that to help make that easier for you. But for most people, especially if you're running on the cloud, this type of setup works great. So the master will have a list of approved minion keys, and it's really easy to manage that list of keys. And it'll sit there listening for the minions, and then it is able to send commands to the minions, and it also will have the configurations for those minions and other files and resources that the minions are going to need. And so it's kind of just sitting there, has all the information that you want. And then on the flip side, the minion will go ahead and connect to the master, and it'll stay connected, listening, ready for commands. And then you can tell the minion to download its configurations, make those changes using Jinja. Is that how you say it? Jinja. I've learned all this over IRC, so I don't know how to pronounce the actual things. I know how to type it, but Jinja. And then it'll download what the configurations are, look at its current states, and making changes to update those states. And you can execute updates on its own when you're connected to the minion. And I find it useful for debugging problems that you might run into. Installation, you can do it either by source or packages. If you want to use the bleeding edge features of Salt, you'll probably want to do something and install it yourself from source and kind of prepare, write your scripts to do that. That way you can update it regularly. But if you're using it just for Salt, just for remote execution and state management, the packages work great. And so if you want to install from the packages, like Ubuntu and Debian, add the PPA, install Salt Master and the minion, and you're good. Fedora and CentOS, they have another repo for that, and you can install it through Yum, real simple. Outside of Debian and Fedora, you just have to install from source. But once again, it's really, really easy. You install its dependencies, which are in Yum or apt or whatever you're using, and then you might need some optional stuff if you need it, and then just install. It's super, super easy. Okay, any questions about installation?
Where's the Yum repository? Test something?
Yeah. So it's in the EPL testing.
It's not in testing anymore, is it?
Yeah,
it's in the
Salt is in
EPL.
EPL.
Yeah.
If you're using it right now, I'd recommend using EPL testing because they just got 9.9 in there. Yeah, so CentOS, you need to enable the EPL repository, which is that's a pretty standard Fedora upstream repository for RHEL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it runs on Python 2.6 and 2.6 and 2.7. So if you're running on RHEL 5, then Apple will also install a 2.6 Python stack for you.
All right. And I personally, we just have Ubuntu servers, and so I never had to deal with that quite yet. And then configuration. This is my favorite part of Salt. The master will work out of the box. You just run it. It'll work great for you. And in the configuration file, it has all the documentation you need for your configs. And then for your minions, all you have to do is point it, say, here's the address of the master, and reboot them, and that's it. And you're up and running. There is no DNS configuration. There is no crazy key management. All you have to do is on your master, and I'll show you that right now, go into your keys and accept them, and you're good to go. And so I'm probably going to spend the rest of the time just showing you how we use it in our demo. And I'm going to sit down. Oh my goodness. Don't throw your back out the day you're supposed to present. It is not fun. Okay. So I think the first thing we'll go ahead and do is I will show you kind of how the configuration files look in what we use, and then we'll go through, hopefully my demo servers will work, and we'll go ahead and show you how everything looks. And so, go over here. All right, so for your state management, they use .sls files, and they're done in YAML. The only thing you want to keep in mind is that they only take spaces, they don't take tabs. If you use tabs, it will barf on you. But other than that, really simple. And so what we have right here is, in fact, I should mirror, but okay. All right, so what we have here is we have declaration base, then I have an asterisk, and here are all the different tools that every single one of our servers are going to use. And say, okay, I want all our core tools, the core users, the hosts, I want Munin and Nagios running on there. And then also, then we go through and configure all the different types of servers. We have set up that we say, okay, all of our salt master is running on this server right here. And we have configurations for the salt masters. And you go down and you will configure, per server. We have a service called Nanos. And so we want all their servers, all the Nanos servers to have these packages and information running on there. And then we have some other additional ones that we run, but I don't have that version checked out because I want to show you our whole infrastructure. But this is kind of our more non-important stuff that I don't care. And so what this declaration right here will say is say, okay, core tools, and this will point to the core file and the tools.sls. And so what you're able to do is you're able to say, give it a name, so I call it core tools, and then you can give different subdirectives and say, okay, package-wise, I want to have all these packages installed, and here are their names. Git core, htop, Apache top, Subversion, RSV, rcconf, strace, php5 CLI, gcc, g++, gpp, all these different things. And then you can say, this is just a test thing, say, hey, I want a home/install directory. We use that to install Redis and other things that we don't have repositories for them. We just install them from source. And same thing with the var deploy. It's kind of just a helpful deployment folder that we use in our different aspects. And so if I was to come over here, so we'll go back, look at our top file, and we'll go ahead and look at these Nanos web servers. So we want all of our Nanos servers to have Nanos core, Nanos hosts, web nginx, and web php5 fpm. And so, these two will map to my web file right here, and we have nginx. And this says, hey, we need to make sure that we include beforehand its dependency, that we include the core munin. And then we have Nginx packages installed. We want to make sure that service is running. And then this is probably the neatest little directive right here is we tell it, hey, we want you to watch these files right here and say, if these files change, you're going to want to restart the service. And so that way, if I make an Nginx configuration change, it knows, hey, I need to reboot Nginx to reload those configurations. And then I tell it, we want to manage this Nginx configuration file. So we're going to manage that. The source of it will be at the master underneath the web's files Nginx configuration, which you can see is right there. And before we try and manage this file, we're going to require that we have Nginx installed. And so to see all this in action, what we'll actually do is yeah.
Just real quick, does it actually do a full restart of Nginx? Or
Yep.
does it just issue a reload?
Last time I checked, I think there's a restart.
Okay,
I think so.
We've just added reload capabilities in 9.9, and they're only supported by a few platforms still, so only Red Hat platforms. But it will auto detect if reload is available for that service and reload if it is.
If you're usually changing versions of it, maybe it's not just a config. You do need it before you start.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But you have to. I mean, you need to keep in mind. So, like, if you're using this to manage your MySQL, if you're using this to manage your MySQL server, you might need to, keep in mind and say, hey, don't auto restart it. We'll restart that one manually for us. And so, but for the most part, I found like with Nginx and Apache and PHP 5 FPM, they restart. It's really quick, and they are adding support to be able to do a reload instead. But I've always just been lazy and restarted them anyway. And so what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to, let's create a new one, bring you over here, we'll up your, okay. Actually, I'm just going to share these screens so I don't have to turn around like this. Give me 1 second. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay. Okay. Is that big enough for everyone to see?
Okay.
All right, so, oh, yes, I can sit down. My back's killing me. All right, so we're going to have 3 tabs open up. This one, we'll go ahead and shell into my low root demo server. Excellent. This one I will shell into as, just so you can see, our my Salt quote-unquote web server. And I think that's correct. Yeah. All right. And so, if right now, if I wanted to see all servers available, I can use the salt command. Tell it I want to execute this against all the servers I have available, and I'm going to run the test.ping command. And it'll run that in parallel, and it will come back and say, okay, master return true, DB return true, and web return true. All right. Now, if we're going to go ahead and use state management, what you do is you call state, hi, state, and it'll loop through, and I'll get these errors saying, hey, no states are found for this minion. So what we do is we keep, by default, do I have? Where am I typing it wrong? There we go. It's one of those days. Yeah, it's the ibuprofen coursing through my veins. It's just, I'm high right now. Okay, And so here's the file where we would normally go ahead and put our top file. Now, I'm going to admit an embarrassing thing. I didn't have any mentors before I learned how to do sysadmin stuff, and so I use Nano. I am sorry. I've tried to break the habit, but it's like crack. So don't judge me. No. Okay. Oh, shoot. My tabs aren't working right. Oh, this is why. That's what I get. I might just use it. Go back and try Vim.
You want to see my Vim RC? We'll fix that.
You know what?
And the Sublime Text does have a command line.
Yeah, but I'm editing manually. Oh, does that? Okay. And so, right here, let's go ahead and we'll make one called just core. Core. Make directory called core. CD core. Now init SLS. And then we're going to go ahead and let's say we want to have, we'll call these like our core tools. And we want these packages installed. Make sure I count right. Make sure these installed. And we're gonna list a bunch of names. This is so bad. All right. Did I hear Nginx? Okay.
That's spelled right.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was going to show us what the error was going to be.
Oh yeah, I'll show you that. I'll probably show you that anyway without trying. But and we'll install git core. That's a good thing, you know. All right. And so hopefully, if I call my state high state, it's going to recognize all these different servers and install these two packages. And it might take it a minute. Hopefully not too long. It'll sit there, run and execute. I didn't get an error immediately, so that means it's working. Most likely.
Connecting to the minions?
Yeah, so the minions are already connected. They're ready, they're listening. I told them, hey, go ahead and update. And so it gave me this output. Oh, my freaking back. This is not fun. All right. And so it came back, okay, DB salt came back first. And so it ran these all in parallel. And said, hey, just let you know, git core was installed correctly, and so was Nginx installed correctly. Come back and tell me web says the same thing, and so does the master salt. Says the same thing. And so if I actually, you know, came over here, let's make a new window, web.salt. Ooh. Let's see if I typed that right. Oh, haha, this is why. Okay, so if I call that running, so I went ahead and installed it. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and say, hey, Nginx. And probably what I would do normally is I just have that be there. I say I want this package installed, and then I tell it I want this service to be running. So I'm gonna call high state, and it looks like they gave me I got an error on those servers because it didn't give me any output. So if I wanted to debug the error, I can go on the minion, salt call state high state. Excuse me, Nginx.
The Debian package started Nginx for you, so when it's querying to see if Nginx is running, it's probably saying that it's already on.
Yeah, so why is my...
You can do that by doing a state start.
Okay. There it is. All right. And so these demo servers, all they were was I had just installed Ubuntu 10.4 LTS, ran aptitude update, aptitude safe upgrade, and installed salt master and minions on them, and that's it. And so, okay, So normally what I would do is you have this command on the master called salt key. Oops. And I'll list them, and it'll have unaccepted keys, accepted keys, and rejected keys. And so I believe, don't do this normally, but you can tell it to, you can delete a key with a dash lowercase d and then type out the name. Or if you're really special like me, you can hit capital D and delete them all. And so we'll actually go do that right now. These are demo servers. It's okay. They're not real. Okay, list them. Now, the salt minion. We'll restart them. I should just copy that and paste it. You can tell I'm a web dev programmer because I can see all the sysadmins over there cringing the way I do all this. But
you can run them all at the same time.
yeah, yeah, but I just unlisted them. So salt list. I have my unaccepted keys, and so I can use the A command, lowercase a, to accept one. So it'll still there, and it'll list them. Okay, accepted. Or capital A, and it'll just accept them all.
Do a dash cap P.
Dash KP.
Capital P. D. And that'll actually show you all the keys so that you can verify them.
Before
Yep.
accepting or
How would you verify them ever?
Because normally, once again, normally people know where my salt is. It's all done on a private network, and I don't worry too much. Because normally I'll deploy a server and accept it. And so if I go look and I say I didn't deploy a server and it's sitting there waiting to be accepted, but that is a good point. You know, if you should probably verify your keys. I'm destroying all my sysadmin credit right here, but go ahead.
You were hating on Puppet's key management earlier. I don't see much different between that.
So the key management is the problem I was having with the key management before is I was running into key management with DNS problems, and I sat there and I was asking people and going through tutorials, and there was a combination of something with the keys and the DNS that it just wasn't allowing me to do it. Now, yeah. And I was having some hostname DNS, something weird was going on. And so, that being said, like I said earlier, you know, Puppet and Chef are awesome tools. They're really robust. They're really good. And if you're using them, don't uninstall them and use Salt right off the bat. Don't jump ships, so to speak. But what I have found personally is between using Puppet and Chef and then and using Salt, this learning curve was much less for me. And it was a lot more simple for me. And, you know, they're all great projects. And this is just the one I've found and I've preferred.
Question, with these minions that are waiting for their keys to be accepted, are they still taking up a socket connection while they're waiting for that?
That's a good question. Yeah, Tom, I think
Sorry,
they
what
are.
was that?
When the keys are waiting to be accepted, are they still having that socket open? That way, the moment you accept them, they're ready to connect?
Okay, how it works is that the master has two sockets. One of them is the persistent socket that you connect to and listen for commands. The other one is the bidirectional communication socket. And so what happens is that the minion will send the public key to the master with an authentication command, and then the master will reply and say wait if it's in the pending keys. If it's in rejected keys, the master will reply and say die. If it's in the accepted keys, the master will reply and say, here's your credentials to hook into the publisher. Now that means that every 10 seconds by default, but it's configurable on the minions, they will check back in to see if their key has been accepted.
Yeah. Thank you. Very good. And so now, you know, in theory, I should be able to go select all my servers and go test ping. And there they are, working again. If I wanted to select just the one for masters, I could go like that. Or if I had multiple web servers, oops, I can go like that. And then there are also things that I'm not going to cover in today. They're called grains, like grains of salt, that you can add additional things to be able to select based off of. So you can say, all my Red Hat servers, I don't care if you're web or database or whatever, all my Red Hat servers, I want you to execute this. Or all my Ubuntu servers, I want to execute this. Or all my Windows servers, I want you to uninstall and die. It doesn't matter, But, you can.
You even pinpoint servers that had nano on them.
Yes, I could right now tell right now, delete nano from all the things, But if anything, this is a great example of, I don't have a sysadmin background. I love open source, but I haven't had the chance to learn a lot of these awesome open source stuff. I kind of learned on my own and picked up tons of bad habits on the way. But even with my lack of training and all this stuff, Salt was very easy for me to pick up and start using from the get-go. And so if you have developers, if you just even to manage an internal testing environment, Salt would be great. That way you can just keep all your configurations in check. Yeah.
What about different versions of packages? Is there a way to control which version of a package you want installed?
I believe so. There is. I have to check the documentation, or we have the documentation right back here.
I guess I should just turn around now.
Probably.
Justin's doing a fantastic job, by the way. I don't want to detract from his presentation.
No, you're fine.
Okay, that depends on the package manager, but yes, we have versioning support for a number of package managers, so that you can pass to them when you do PKG, either inside of the state or on the command line. You can say version equals to give it an exact version, or give it a GT or an LT for greater than or less than a specific version. But again, certain package managers are supported, some and some aren't. And some distributions, that's a little more difficult to do, so they're further down the list of supporting them.
Yeah, and so, and one great thing is they have really, really good documentation. It's very rare for a project that's just over a year old to have as good a documentation as they do. And that's where I kind of come in and say, I don't understand this. I'm really dumb, and we figure out, we update the documentation to reflect my dumbness. But yes.
Are you going to do a demo of your remote execution?
Yeah. If I wanted to do it, I wouldn't recommend to do it. But we might do it at the end just for fun. But so you can go ahead and tell it command run, and then I can pass it a command. And so we can do something simple like ls, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Command run, and master came back, gave me all the little updates. There are ways that you can control what kind of output this salt command will give you. So that way, if you want to integrate it with other things, like I want a script that comes in JSON, parse it, do something cool, you can do that. Last time I checked. Yes, I'm getting a good nod. Yes.
Did you also import the salt modules into your own code?
Yep.
I assume
yeah. Well, what's really cool, and this is the part where I haven't gotten into, and why I highly recommend going to Tom's wonderful presentation tomorrow on writing salt modules, is for me, this is really great for the simple, keeping everything the same, but I have looked a little bit in the writing modules, and you can really, you can easily hook in your application stuff and say, hey, I want to be able to press a button, deploy 3 servers, update this thing, and make them, shout for joy and do whatever you want, really seamlessly.
Do you use -A or something that would be different on each of the servers, like see that how it would be different. So each line.
Yep. Maybe at the end of the presentation we'll do something like this. That'll be the last thing I do, but we'll end the presentation on that, just because it's fun.
What privileges does it run with?
So all the master and the minion, you can configure it, but by default they'll run as root. And so you do need to keep that in mind. Like you don't want, right now, like I don't want to make sure my salt master was nice and secure. This demo definitely is not. But if someone's gain access of salt, that would be a bad thing. You can configure your minions to run as different users, but that adds a layer of complexity. If you need it, great. But if you don't need it, then the same thing. But that is definitely something you have to keep in mind. is that all your minions are running as root by default, because you need to be able to install packages and things like that. And so next thing I'll show you is we'll keep working on this core file. Is we're going to go ahead and have a file var. In fact, let me just double check and see. Nginx default, okay. Nginx HTML. I thought file managed, and then I tell it the source. And Tom will shout if I make a syntax mistake. But we'll go ahead and put this in core files index.html. Thank you.
Since you requested that.
Yes. No, you're more than welcome to. Like I said, I feel bad because normally I spend a lot of time preparing my slides and my presentations. I run them over. I get really good demos. Last 2 weeks of my current job and trying to sell and move my house and all sorts of crazy stuff. And so I am a little less underprepared, but I have an amazing back row to help me out. Okay. Files. Let's see. File. Okay, and we'll do something like H1 UTOSC conference rocks and end it correctly. Okay, and so let me just double check. Core files, that looks right. And so what I've said is like, okay, I'm gonna have these files. They're not SLS files. They're just regular files. I want you to go ahead and use this file. Needs to be on the server. And actually, what I probably should do is tell it to require Nginx. Thank you. As soon as I hit saved, I was like, wait a second, I'm forgetting something. So I want to make sure the package is installed. Do I need a space there? My spidey senses are working, they're just a little slow. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say, we're going to call the high state on all of our servers. And I shoot this say, hey, we went and updated this file. It's on all the servers. And so now, UTOSC conference rocks. That's correct.
Well, that's just on the salt. Go to one of the maintenance to test it.
Yeah.
So you update it will be done in about around now?
Yeah. And whereas on this guy, I mean, it is, that's another thing I should say. Another great thing about Salt, it's very fast. And they've put a lot of work into that. I've watched on the IRC channel, like, oh, we found this new, package. We send little packages. We could save every little byte, and they're very, very performance oriented. And so it's really fast. And because I haven't, had to use Puppet or Chef a lot, that's something I don't appreciate, I guess. But if I was to go over here and go back to my files and do something and say Justin Carmony, if I can spell, is also kind of okay. Install all state, and it'll say, hey, here's the diff that I made. And if I refresh, just the Carmony's also kind of okay. And then, if I was to go over to my DB server here, Nginx, nano, index, HTML.
So is high state something you've defined, or is that a saltism?
So that's a saltism. So it's kind of the way to say, hey, read my state files, pull them down, and make sure that whatever's defined on the state files is also on my server. It doesn't do it automatically for you. They kind of leave that up to say, hey, if you want to run this, if you want to add a cron job to run it every 5 minutes, fine. If you want to do it manually, fine. If you want to integrate it into a different solution, you can do it that way. And so I'm going to go over here and say, hack the server and say, no, I'm awesome. And go over here, and I look over here and say, I'm awesome. And then if I go over here to salt again.
Is there a dry run? Like, don't actually do it, but check what
Okay.
Yes.
So
In 9.9 there is. I don't
yeah,
think,
so
I don't think
that
he's
was
got
the feature I
9.9
asked
installed.
for. Is I did want that dry run capability just because I wanted it, and then I got busy, and so I actually don't know how to run the dry run.
Do you have 9.9 installed?
Yeah.
Oh, you are 9.9?
Yeah.
Oh, we should have you fix your SLS files for the even more brief syntax.
Yes.
Just space, test equals capital T true.
Nothing left to do. I can do that real easy. Let me just remove that file. Oh,
Well, you just removed the file. It's actually getting. It should be returning a failure. Dry runs are very new. I will admit there are.
and you know what? Let me make sure I'm running on. Let me actually make sure I'm running on 9.9.
Yeah, that would probably.
I'm not.
No.
The PPAs. No, no, you're right because that came out yesterday.
Yeah, 9.9 came out yesterday.
It's not my fault. But actually, are the PPAs updated?
They should be, yeah. I think they were updated last night.
Oh.
They're changing the client too? No.
Yeah, we'll do that right now.
Right, salt can salt itself.
Yeah.
Another really cool feature about salting itself in 9.9 is that when you run state.highstate, it actually detaches from the salt minion process, so that the high state run can safely restart itself.
Okay. So my 9.8 servers don't have that. So if I run the update, it'll come back and say, hey, they disconnected, but it'll reconnect after the update. But moving forward, so if I was to go to version 1, then it would work correctly. So if I want to go ahead and say command run aptitude safe upgrade.
You should be able to just do pkg.install.
Oh, but yeah, I need the -y. Well, like I said, my sysadmin foo is not what it should be. Let's see what happened. Yeah, so the other one didn't come back. So let's see. Let's see what happened. No, it didn't work. And I probably could get it to work. I'm a noob.
Justin, you should be able to do it by running pkg.install on the master. So so instead of cmd.run, use the pkg module in the install function. Actually, you can. This is embarrassing. I can't remember if it's update or upgrade. I'm hearing them both now. Just do pkg.upgrade.
But I need to make sure the salt minion's listed in my thing, so let's hurry.
No.
It would do it regardless?
Yeah, that's a straight function call. Or
I broke salt. Probably because I was running something on that one already. Actually, that's probably why it was.
I just remembered that we did have a bug on Debian systems. We did have a problem with Debian systems when using salt to update the minion, which has been fixed in 9.9.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Tom, but yeah. So let's make sure.
Fumbling up. I get to do that tomorrow.
Does Debian tend to lack, or not? It doesn't lack. It doesn't. I assure you. But does it tend to fall behind in salt support?
Well,
the main platform?
Oh no, it's just there were some situational things that popped up with the way dpackage worked that I didn't catch earlier on.
Expect that Debian Ubuntu company will be right about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because these are changes that happened the last couple days. Because 9.8 because there was the bug at 9.8 with Debian, and then so upgrading to 9.9 will fix these problems. Should, but
yeah, that's only when you.
so let me just try to make sure my stuff's working still. Yeah, so everything's up and running still. I didn't foobar it too bad. All right, so. All right, and then so now go back to that original. So if I go over there, run the dry, I'll remove index. High state's true. Yep.
Ooh, yellow.
Make sure it's dry.
Oh yeah, test equals true.
It really was dry. Now take off the test equals true.
So now I'm on 9.9. It came out yesterday.
On both sides.
And so the other great thing about Salt is their IRC channel almost always have people on there, and I've gotten so much help through there. They're very patient with people like me. You guys are probably all smarter than I am, and so they're very helpful to help out. If it's weird, like 3 o'clock in the morning, someone's not there, the mailing list is almost just as responsive. You can set it to the mailing list, and they'll normally get a response very, very quickly. You know, as soon as someone wakes up, they'll see it.
IRC's blocked from here. I don't know why.
Yeah. You got a question?
University. You do templated.
Come on, man. Yeah. Yes, you can template file management. I actually haven't had to use too much of it.
Can't do an SSH tunnel. I'm sure they
And we'll
will.
probably cover that more tomorrow, but you can use Jinja to say, hey, depending on the configuration of the file, say, hey, if this is a Red Hat, a good example is like, hey, if this is Red Hat, I actually would call this package name differently.
Say what?
You're going to talk about pillars? Or if you say, hey, if this has this type of special thing about the figures, if this has a special value, I can go based off of that and pull and you can pull it in.
External pillars.
Very, very powerful. I haven't had to get too much into it, so I feel comfortable trying to
somebody else's.
probably make Tom look at it. But yeah, he'll do that tomorrow, and I'm sure his demos will be phenomenal. And so we have a few more slides. Any other questions?
I have a question. I don't know if there's a way to use Salt in a if you're not root. Let's say you got cPanel account or something and you don't have root access. Can you make a minion that doesn't run as root and still have the master do something, maybe file syncing or
Definitely.
You could definitely
run
get
commands maybe? Or
yeah, because
Yes.
that would be my expertise of just sysadmin work. Because I've got my strength.
It's only so long till somebody writes us a
I know how to run
cPanel
basic
module.
Stack or Nginx or stuff like that. But if you want to do something really cool, because I've watched the mailing list. People will email things like, "Hey, how do I do something that's really more complex, cool?" And they'll get replies and say, "Hey, this is how I recommend doing it." And then the next day they say, "Hey, I got it working, and here's how it works." And so you can do that. That leaves my realm of expertise. And so, any other quick questions?
So like in PHP, there's a new effort to manage and sync all your packages called Composer.
Okay.
Would this be something that could do what Composer does? Or
What you can do is, there's two ways you can do it. You can either run stuff through the command line, and using command run, and you can define commands in your Salt configs that will run on some conditions. You can do it that way, or someone could write a module in Composer, and then you can even have full syntax like Composer installed these packages. And so, so those two different ways you can tackle it. And so the great thing about Salt I found is that it does all this stuff for you to make it really easy, and then it gets out of your way. You don't have to have the crazy type of configuration files and all this very verbose stuff to do something. It's like, get out of the way, I want to hand this over to either a bash file, I want to hand this over to Python code. And that streamlines easy to, I just want to get something done. And it doesn't get in your way to do that. So I think the last thing we'll probably do, just for fun, just to see what happens.
That's the last thing.
But I don't want to do it on all of them. We'll nuke off the web. We don't need the web servers. We need the web servers.
Wipe yourself out.
I wonder if I wonder how it's going to return.
Dash V so you can verbose see everything being deleted.
We'll see the point.
I'm wondering if it's able to return the data.
So the process is still running.
So here
It should be, yeah.
Here's a first salt being used to totally hose.
Salt to salt.
Salt.
It's salt.
Okay, let's see what happens. I'm cringing. And I'm like, I've done 5 times out of my mind, I'm like, I am on a test server. I am on a test server. Nothing's production, I am on a test server.
Hit enter, it won't matter. Cannot remove slash.
Oh, RM no can has. /*. You already root.
Can't move the drag.
Yeah.
Oh, RM is being too helpful.
Oh, we just, everyone in this room is cringing.
If this works, we can.
Keep in mind it is going to traverse /proc.
Yeah, so let's go over this web server and see how it's doing.
Should be self-still.
There we go.
Tab complete.
I don't even know what I would do. Cat close that server.
Just do
I'll
tab.
decommission it.
Cat draw device.
You can't use cat. Use echo space.
Yeah. Echo star.
Oh, echo tab.
Yeah, because Echo's a bash built in.
That's what we have left.
Complete bash is still-
Wow.
Yeah, and that's still in process
So you
space.
can't say you don't have fun at Utah.
So can Salt fix that?
No.
Okay,
I can
now-
restore backup.
Somebody asked if Salt can fix that. Now I'm pre-alpha on a tool that will. It's called Salt Cloud that will automatically provision cloud VMs and salt them.
So yeah.
So yes, you will be able to blow away salt minions and then recreate them.
Just
But again,
echo space.
give me a minute.
Tab, so you can see what's there. Those are just the bash commands. Echo space. Yeah, just hit tab. That's what's like.
That's low.
Proc file system could.
Right,
So,
normal error out
we just
there.
host this machine. So if I rebooted it, it would come back up. It's say goodbye to it. And the pings would fail.
That was quick.
Actually,
You can't even in at 0. Huh? It's just-
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've woken up at 4 a.m. and thought, I know it makes
oh,
salt
I can
faster.
run.
Just pings. Test that.
Oh.
No, I feel that's tragic.
Oh, it's waiting to see if it'll come back.
So bottom line is my whole goal and purpose. I'm not super
No
smart.
can
To
have.
get you guys excited about salt, if someone like me can use salt, who doesn't have any sysadmin background whatsoever, I'm
You
just
should
a
have already
programmer.
got endorsement.
And we manage about 20
I
servers.
gotta buy this guy
salt.
lunch.
And it works great for us. So if I can set that up and do that,
You're an hour late for that.
there's some pretty awesome
Buy
cool
lunch
things
tomorrow.
with it. And go to the presentations with Tom. Are you giving both of them tomorrow?
I'm giving an overview, and I'm going to change it because there was a little overlap. And then Joseph, right after me, is giving one on writing salt modules,
And
so that
both-
you can see how to very, very easily plug all of your awesomeness into salt.
Does this require DNS? I mean, where are you getting these magic words from? Is it just the IP and the forward? And the
Yeah, so I have
to
DNS
match?
interest. So like
You can't pick
I've-
those words.
Yes, you
Yeah, or
can.
You can.
Yes, you can. But they default to the fully qualified domain name.
Oh, so but
Yeah.
in the menu you can say, I'm Bob, even though my host name is like server.
Exactly, and that's primarily supported because you can run multiple minions on one system, so that you could have minions with different users and different
you
contexts.
can have your root minion,
Right.
your cPanel man. You can have your Justin minion. That way I don't fully host your system.
That's why I was
Sometimes when you're supporting cPanel.
So,
Right.
all right. Well, that's all I have.